Hey guys, and welcome back to the Ramble. I am your host, Maria Legier, talking to you from my throne of toilet paper. This is Miscarriage. A man consenting to sex is consenting to parenthood. Perversely, this also applies when the man does not consent, or if the man cannot consent by rule of law, as is the case with Seyer. Please see links down below. Read it, then weep a little, then return and weep some more. Hermesmann V. Seyer is a glaringly obvious case of statutory rape, and still the boy was on the hook to pay child support, even when he was a child himself and thus could not, by law, give meaningful consent to the cunt bastard of a woman who was supposed to be taking care of him. Seems she took care of herself at the very least, fucking ass-munching bastard bitch that she is. That is rather remarkable, is it not? Even when not being able to consent to sex, even when the woman raped him, a boy is still consenting to parenthood. That is to say, to pay for a child. Man up, young boy. You are a provider now. In a just world, the woman would lose custody of this child. She ought not to be considered an able mother, since she clearly enjoys fucking children. And she damned fucking well should not be able to force a rape victim to pay child support. The whole bloody thing is absurd and, frankly, disgusting. It brings my piss to a boil and it turns my rage to words, vomited lovingly and tenderly at my throbbing, ginormous, awe-inspiring, raging patriarchal keyboard. That's right, boys. I turn rage into words. It is either this or complete and utter misanthropy, or insanity, and I am far too compassionate to be a true misanthrope. I cannot become a misanthrope as long as there are people out there dedicating their lives to saving and sheltering dogs. In my darkest moments, these people rekindle and restore my faith in humanity. So there. Though I admit that it's getting increasingly more difficult to stay away from misanthropy. How much of a fucking disgusting human being does one have to be to file for child support from someone who became a father as the result of a rape? This much, and then some. And what all this kinda sorta honestly makes me think is that the age of consent is there to protect girls from men, not boys from women. It very bloody damned fucking well appears as such. The emphasis is, of course, placed on the needs of the child that spawned from this non-consensual sexual encounter, stressing non-consensual as much as possible as the boy could not possibly consent due to very well not being old enough to consent. When a child is in need of support, the boy is obviously old enough for that. Just had to wait 3 years before filing for child support. 3 rough and hard years as a single mother, I suppose. And oh and woe, and won't somebody please think of the children? Won't somebody please think of the children? Excepting the child that was raped. He don't matter none on account of being a boy, I guess. He got his dick wet. Lucky guy. And so I asked the man up and take responsibility for his fun. Getting a piece of ass ain't free, bucko, and he must have wanted it, and he should be grateful, and oh what a lucky boy he is. And all that other stuff which one usually see and hear whenever a boy or a man is raped by a woman. Though of course the word rape is seldom, if ever, used. For you see, a boy or a man cannot legally be raped by a woman. This is the case in a not insignificant amount of places. Rape necessarily must, by the letter of the law in such backwards, undeveloped and far-away places like the USA and Great Britain amongst others, involve penetration, however slight, of the anus, the vagina or the mouth of the victim. Being forced to penetrate is not counted as rape. Nope. That has a lesser impact on the victim. If he had an erection, he must have consented in some way or other, right? Right. Only if this also applied to women who get lubricated and even experience orgasms during rape. Because that happens, you know. Does this mean that she enjoyed the rape? One assumes not. And one would assume correctly. One assumes. Genitalia react to external stimuli. The physical react to physical stimuli despite what message the psyche sends, despite the mind recoiling in horror. Who'd have thunk it? You know, for all the jibber-jabber we are served daily that men know absolutely nothing about a woman's body. Women prove time and again that they know absolutely nothing about the male body. If the line of thought is that he got an erection, therefore he must have wanted it, it is really, truly, completely and utterly proven that women know jack shit about male bodies. And this goes for men who spout this ridiculous twat fuckery as well. Make no mistake, there's quite a lot of them as well. One would assume that in cases of statutory rape, this line of thought would not fly regardless, as statutory rape laws are in place specifically to protect children from predatory adults. at the very least if the children are girls. For women cannot rape, they can only be raped, and men cannot be raped, they can only rape. And so it is for girls and boys as well. Girls can be raped by the opposite sex, and boys cannot. No wonder. We are constantly told that boys and men are always ready, willing and eager to fuck. There has to be something wrong with a man or a boy if he does not want to fuck, whatever the reason. And sounds an awful lot like victim blaming. But that does not compute because boys and men cannot be victims of rape if their rapist is a woman. How can one victim blame when the victim cannot be a victim? Checkmate, misogynists. So comes again the absurdity, the unfairness, the unjust lunacy of it all. Even when a boy is raped, he has no reproductive rights. He has no say in whether or not he wants to carry the burden and the responsibility of fatherhood. Someone's gotta pay for the child, and you can be damned sure that this burden should not fall on the shoulders of the mother, frail and fair and fragile and feminine and deserving of protection, provision and privilege pussy pass as she is. Truly she is, as are all other girls and women, sugar and spice and everything nice. Whereas the boy is snips and snails and puppy dog tails. Neither she nor the state should pay for the child. Time for the boy to man up and take responsibility for his powerful lust. All 12 years of his accumulated lust. All 12 years of life experience. She was 16 years of age when this began, and he was 12. Which one of these is supposed to be the mature, responsible and capable person? He got her pregnant. That is how it is always phrased. It is all in the phrasing. He got her pregnant. Her actions don't factor into it. Women can do no bad and women have no agency, no self-control and no ability to take responsibility for their actions. That would be asking too much of them. Oddly enough, stealthing, removing the condom without informing the woman ought to be considered rape, say the hive mind and all the clingers on. A woman lying about being on birth control and so tricking a guy into fatherhood, on the other hand, ought not to be considered in the same vein. He got her pregnant after all. She did not get pregnant. She was impregnated. It takes two to tango, and one has to be aware of the possibility for pregnancy and childbirth when having sex, and so people ought to take responsibility for this. Especially, particularly and mostly him. And her as well, except if she does not want the responsibility. She should have all the reproductive rights and choices and freedoms from consequences which are not afforded to him. Her body, her choice. His body, her choice. Bottom line, one should not be able to force a woman to be a mother. That would be discriminatory and unequal and oppressive and terrible. But one should damned well be able to force a man to be a father, even when he is a boy and as such unable to give meaningful and enthusiastic consent. Meaningful and enthusiastic consent is very much a necessity to get at every stage of a sexual encounter, at every escalation of events leading up to the terribly patriarchal act of perverse penetration. According to the feminist hive mind and various assorted peddlers of double standards and blindsided hypocrisy. Translated from Newspeech, it comes to mean that it is a necessity to get from women, not from men. From women. Men and boys don't matter. And nobody cares. We want sex at all times and women cannot rape, so our consent is a given, is presumed, assumed and definitely not necessary. Even when we are blackout drunk. Allow me to remind you that everyone's favourite frantic eggshell frail feminist comedian, I guess, Miss Piggy, I'm sorry I mean Amy Schumer of course, straight up admitted to raping a guy, even going so far as to ridicule him for not being fully erect or able to maintain an erection on account of his being blackout drunk. See link below. This insufferable monologue from this insufferable Miss Piggy impersonator was praised as being empowering along with all those other feminist buzzwords which only ever apply to women. Because why wouldn't it? Raping someone is empowering, if one happens to be a woman. It is absolutely astonishing to me how Miss Piggy is able to freely, all while being praised, admit to raping a guy. How this holds no consequences for her. Following the feminist definition of the thing, this is her bragging, even joking, in explicit detail about raping someone. But, of course, we all know that the feminist definition of things only ever apply to how it can benefit or victimize women. Also, if you did not enjoy Miss Piggy's petulant Netflix special, you are a horrible misogynist, as one is if one does not enjoy something if a feminist woman made it. It doesn't matter whether it is any good or not. If it is made by a feminist woman, you've gotta enjoy it, or pretend to do so. What a time to be alive. And this is equality, you know. Any guy saying the exact same thing as Miss Piggy, I'm such a quirky slut, tee-hee, Schumer did would not be praised. Far from it. he would be cancelled. Then he would be hung, drawn and quartered by a ferocious mob, fueled by all the self-righteous mob justice the world could ever want to spit, puke, vomit, piss and otherwise excrete onto our loving, tender, open and drooling Aigao faces. Feminism not only forced the entire world to eat their stinking shit, they forced us to smile whilst doing so. If we don't smile whilst eating their shit on a bed of sick, it's back to the whipping post with us until we learn how. You gotta learn to enjoy this, boy, and you gotta learn to enjoy the whipping. Now bow down and kiss the jackboot stilettos of your mistress. Kneel, boy, I say kneel. Yes'm, Big Mama. Please'm don't whip us, Big Mama. We don't know no better. We's just nothing but dumb field boyos. If you cannot tell, I am rather annoyed today. It's been a rough couple of months. The year does not seem to be getting any better on account of China ushering forth the apocalypse, and I feel a sudden desire to be mean-spirited and nasty. My name is Moira Legier, and I am a nasty man. Particularly so when my id is materializing in the back of my aching and lopsided neck. God fucking damn it. Give me my bloody catharsis and bring me my bloody empowerment. Otherwise, fetch me my musket. It's justice season and I'm out hunting for fairness. And fanatics. But mostly fairness. Come now, dear feminism, and liberate me from my restrictive gender role, would you please? You fucking two-faced, bloody-mouthed, drooling, hypocritical, double-standard aficionados. One rule for thee, and another for me is the name of the game. Reproductive rights for thee, and not for me. One should think that a strong independent fish who don't need no bicycle in case of a child either. Seemingly the fish are incapable of understanding that their actions have consequences. Not as long as someone is there ready, willing and able to bail them out of the consequences of their actions. If a woman gets pregnant on account of raping a man, or raping a boy as the case may be, it is astonishing to what length society is willing to go in order to absolve her of the responsibility of her actions, as well as placing the responsibility of her actions on the man, or the boy. And we all allow this. Our societies, lacking in sobriety, drunk on gynocentrism, high on the women are wonderful effect and as such lacking in clear thought, allow this. And it's a remarkably gender traditional view of things, given that we are supposed to be freed from these traditional shackles and chains by the holy might of feminism and her spectral minions of oh so much equality. Seems gender traditional views are quite alright, if they are to the express and explicit benefit of women, to the express and explicit devaluing of boys and men as human beings. Clearly and obviously, this is not the sole doing of feminism. Far from it. I believe it to be rooted in our very natures. Emboldened and fortified by society, set in stone by culture for sure, but a part of our nature nonetheless. Yet, I fail to see feminism, those who supposedly champion equality between the sexes, fight these views and these ideas. Quite the contrary. They maintain, strengthen and enforce them, even when claiming the opposite. When a movement has become as powerful as feminism, when a movement claims to be the sole voice, the sole authority on the topic of equality between the sexes, it is not only just to call them out on their failure to deliver on their promise, it is a necessity. Those of us who have had our eyes open to the fraud and sham of feminism is fully aware that equal treatment does not factor into it in any way, shape or form. Those who have not need to understand it. Otherwise, we will keep allowing this nonsense. Through inaction, through lack of compassion, through lack of empathy, through lack of understanding, we allow it. We allow it by clinging to the line of thought that says that men and boys cannot be raped by women, that men and boys are lucky to get their dicks wet, no matter. By shaming those who say otherwise, we allow it. By falling flat on our faces, by bending over, spreading our cheeks and preparing for a good old-fashioned, unlubricated train run pegging by the feminist hordes and their white simpering knights, we allow it. By believing that women are morally superior to men, that men are somehow beneath women, lacking in the morality department, we allow it. By viewing boys and men as disposable, as human doings instead of human beings, we allow it. By accepting the feminist narrative, by accepting that feminism rooted itself firmly in our institutions, we allow it. Disallow, disavow, protest and object, turn your backs and walk away. Disallow, disavow, throw it to the winds, turn your backs and become free. And that, I think, is that. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this ramble more than my previous ramble. Please take a look at the links down below, and I'll catch you next time. This is Mariology Air, signing off.